Huh. So nobody's talking about this. Okay. So, did you guys know that the guy who wrote Serial Experiments Lain wrote for a live-action TV show a few years earlier? And it's probably weirder than what you're expecting. About 3 years before Lain, Chiaki and his brother Kazuya signed on to a project launched by Antinos Records, a branch of Sony Music's Epic Records label. The project was called the Area Code Drama. The whole idea was to make a bunch of TV shows, dramas, specific to locations based on their area code. If you were in Area 054, Shizuoka, from April to July of 1995, you had the chance to watch Alice 6 from around 12 to 1 in the morning. As you can imagine, the late night time slot meant that the Konaka brothers could do whatever the fuck they wanted on screen. And Chiaki-sensei attests to this fact on his website. So yeah, the "we were never supposed to see this" in the thumbnail is actually not clickbait. If you weren't sentient in Shizuoka in spring 1995, then you were not meant to see this. It's a miracle we even have one episode preserved, let alone the whole show translated. It's difficult enough to find info on all these other shows. Japan has been totally uninterested in preserving any information on them beyond the actors who appeared in them. Hold on, I still haven't even told you guys what the show's about yet. Okay, I don't know how to do that. This isn't a show that you can spoil just by talking about it, but that also means that words don't do it justice. There's 1,000 different ways to describe what goes on in this show, but none of them sound convincing enough to me that I think they would motivate you to go watch it. Like Letterboxd says, 6 girls get lost in the forest and are taken through a series of mysterious worlds. You see what I mean? It's not inaccurate, but who would actually go watch the show off of that description? Here, let me try. 6 models go to a forest in Shizuoka and through a series of hallucinatory tortures learn that the self isn't real. No, that photography is gay. No, that women don't exist. Anyone else who watched the show, feel free to help me out in the comments. I feel like you could try to summarize every episode and it still wouldn't spoil the show. It's not so much plot-driven as it is aesthetic-driven. And trust me, the temptation is strong to waste an hour of your time summarizing the show so I can get that scrumptious ad revenue, if YouTube finally lets me monetize a video. But I know for a fact that there's people out there who prefer to experience a work of art vicariously through a video essay that just gives you a Wikipedia rundown of the plot, probably on a second screen while they play Fortnite. You're missing. Miss. Stop that! You can't do that with this show. You can't do that with anything. And Alice 6 is a great starting point for anyone who wants to reclaim their free will. This isn't a big dissection of Alice 6, that comes later from someone much more qualified than me. This is a PSA. Watch this show now! It feels like the Konaka brothers make narrative decisions based on what they want the episode to look, feel, and sound like, as opposed to what would make the most sense. And this is totally in line with Alice in Wonderland, which is the main story the Konakas are taking influence from. Before Alice 6, he wrote for PS1 game Alice in Cyberland and the OVA that was part of its media mix. It's about a girl called Alice who dives into this retro-futuristic internet world called Cyberland. And much like the Wired of Serial Experiments Lain, people access it using devices called Navis. Cyberland here is a very physical manifestation of the internet, a location where information literally takes up space and where secrets have to be kept deeper and harder to access and fortified with digital castles. And just like in Alice 6, we also have a character called Juri who, in episode 2, falls in love with a grade school boy AI program who reproduces asexual. I'm done talking about this. Any MFAs or literature understanders can let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. But I got the sense from the book that Lewis Carroll made narrative decisions based on what words would sound the best spoken together, or what events would lead to the most interesting word combinations when described. I'm missing just as much context for Victoria-era England as I am for Heisei-era Japan, so I'm probably missing all kinds of socio-political commentary that these works of art are making about their respective societies, but some criticisms are made hard and clear enough that even a layman from across the world can understand them. Like episode 10, in which the characters acknowledge at the end that they've been doing a riff on a lousy youth drama, as if poking fun at the idea. Like the Konakas are saying, yeah, wouldn't it be boring as shit if we were doing this the whole time? And machine-translated Chiaki-sensei seems to concur. Well, not really. Apparently he was doing a riff on Tokimeki Jidai, a youth romance drama from 1993. But the Konakas don't just stop at Alice in Wonderland. They reference Wizard of Oz, Beauty and the Beast, fucking Star Trek, I think.
Fuck yeah, me too.
Every episode is something new, something that keeps you on your feet. In a sense, it's kind of like an anthology show where the Konaka bros are just trying to show you what they're made of. I'm trying to avoid describing Alice 6 as Lynchian, mainly because I think adjectives based on people's last names are the laziest words to ever use. And I'm also trying to avoid comparing the show to Twin Peaks. It feels lazy, like I'm totally copping out of having to Okay, they said it, not me. The show has a very magical realism kind of feeling, even as it moves into sci-fi and fantasy territory. The way the characters respond so nonchalantly to all these crazy new developments is what really sells the dreamlike nature here. Very few questions are asked and damn near none are answered. And that's kind of the way I like it. Like, what do you want me to say about Josie Packard having her soul locked away in a doorknob? I can't analyze that shit. One thing you'll notice in each episode, of Alice 6 that is that a lot of time is spent on montages of the girls looking cute while a song plays in the background. My guess is this is the way the Konakas met quota on the songs they had to include in each episode. This was an initiative to promote music after all, with the main draw being the exclusivity and regional relevance of each song. So you'll often find yourself being hypnotized by the beautiful sounds of Shizuoka. Like this song, which really makes you feel like a Japanese model trapped in a magical forest. All the actresses in Alice 6 were models affiliated with Spacecraft Talent Agency. None of them have any work in their filmographies aside from Alice 6. That is with the exception of Shoko's actress, who ended up having a pretty prolific career in film. She was in August in the Water that same year. The show has a lot to say about modeling and photography, it just doesn't really say it in an easily understandable way. The girls clearly have a lot of fun at their jobs, and the show has a lot of fun dressing them up in all these crazy outfits. I guess before dress-up games, if you wanted to make cute girls wear cute outfits, you had to get commissioned to make a whole season of television. Or buy one of these, I guess. Thanks for pricing this appropriately, Anime Trend Research. And you can finance it too. Amazing. You kind of see how Chiaki J. Konaka ended up getting seriously into doll making. The internet in 1995 had not yet become what it would be in 1998. So we can see Chiaki Sensei's concerns with self and identity conveyed through an analog medium before the digital revolution takes place. So before avatars and online personas, we had celebrities shot on film, objects creating separate selves to portray to the subject through several degrees of separation, from the person to the camera to the magazine editorial process to the final product. There's a level of metafiction here where the models in the story, a bunch of young up-and-comers in the modeling industry trying to catch their big break, are acted by young up-and-coming models who are trying to catch their big break. I don't want to keep comparing this show to Lane, but I can't help but think how much this story mirrors Lane in the way it jumps from idea to idea every episode without regard for conventional storytelling structure, and in the way Chiaki writes the characters as well. I think the trajectory of Miki's character really mirrors that of Lane's. Miki is portrayed by Yukiko Morikawa with her endearing lisp.
どうぞ、お座りください。創造主ですか。そうなんですか。
You can already see how Miki and Lane are kind of polar opposites, with Miki being a super beautiful, sociable young woman, and Lane being a total fucking geef lord. But they both have a gift for navigating their surreal, inexplicable worlds. A gift that others in the story don't quite possess. In Lane's case, it's more that she learns over time how to navigate the wired, whereas in Miki's case, she seems to just have a compass inside her that guides her to the right option. Sometimes it feels like she's the only one in the story who has free will, and like functioning eyes. And in the end, she acquires a mastery of this world that mirrors Lane's mastery over the wired, and she uses that power to humiliate an older male figure who abused his power to control others. It also maps onto Malice's progression from Malice Doll, except that she acquires her world-changing power after vicious trauma. But she still uses that power to exert mastery over her surroundings. All three are about girls navigating artificial worlds and finding power that allows them to end the charade they're in one way or another. Alice 6 is just the most playful about it all. We can track Konaka's attitude according to the tools he has at his disposal, with a mostly analog Alice 6 being very energetic and perhaps optimistic about a person's relation to their self. Lane, which came out at the perfect transition point between cell and digital animation, is a lot darker and more ambiguous about the subject, and Malice Doll, the fully computer-generated work, is the darkest and most pessimistic. Although it's worth noting that Chiaki Sensei never really abandons hope, there's always something to look forward to on the other side of the door when a person confronts their self. It's just that developments in technology have made the process a lot more difficult to navigate. Even this video is, in a Konakan sense, a prison of the me who made it at the time. And this me is not really me at all, but a construction I made specifically for the purpose of this video that I am forcing to live forever in the form of a voiceover narration. I kinda Josie Packarded myself here. It's fucked up that in order to talk about anything on the internet, I now have to be okay with the chance that my voice might get raped by AI, and that at some point in the future, I might have to hear a zombified version of myself approximating all of my vocal mannerisms to narrate shitty-ass Reddit ghost stories over footage of the most ridiculous mobile game ever. It's like the more authentically I try to talk on the mic, the more punished I am, and the more accurately the AI is trained. Hey, maybe it's a good thing that this piece of fucking shit pop filter that I fucking...
wasted my fucking money on doesn't work.
The Konaka brothers imbue the act of photography with a great power in this story, capable of great good, but also great evil. It's not as devious as the internet is in Lane, where the best we can hope for seems to be a slow but comfortable suicide. Photography seems to have a lot more potential for good in the eyes of the Konakas, but they depict it as a power that can imprison just as much as it can liberate. Guys, I'm drowning over here. You cannot let me be the only one analyzing this show. I'm way out of my depth. We need philosophers, psychologists, fashion designers, ufologists, Jungian alchemists, Sufi masters, all contributing to a discussion on Alice 6. The good news is it's super easy to watch on YouTube because it's free and fully subtitled thanks to the efforts of Dazirock and her team. You know how I said it's a miracle that we even have one episode of the show? Dazirock is that miracle. She's the one who asked Chiaki J. Konaka about the show on Twitter, after which he seemingly unprivated an entire playlist for her. She used the scripts, which are all uploaded online by the way, as well as the support of her Japanese-speaking friends to make the subtitles for the show. And if you, like me, think the subtitles are like a centimeter too low on the screen, you can download it from Google Docs and adjust the subtitles yourself. The nice thing about this is that it seems like it comes with Chiaki J. Konaka's blessing, and I don't even think Sony as a company remembers any of these projects, so I don't think it'll be taken down. If any Lost Media soldiers want to hunt down any of the other area code dramas, the effort would be greatly appreciated by like the 5 people online who might give a shit. Alice 6 is uniquely valued among these area code dramas just on the basis of its connection to Chiaki J. Konaka, the writer for Serial Experiments Lane. Dazirock and her team's fan-subbing efforts probably made the show more popular here than it ever was in Japan. It doesn't even have its own Wikipedia page, which is something that even Aloha Heating and Rumoi Police Box Diary have. And trying to find commentary or forum posts on the Japanese web about Alice 6 is a total nightmare, but maybe that's just my Japanese illiteracy at work. Either way, if Dazirock's efforts weren't enough, then hopefully this video will solidify Alice 6's popularity in the West, and we will be able to proudly tell the Japanese we love this obscure mid-90s television show more than you do, and that's our revenge for you liking Twin Peaks more than we do. No, legit, these guys are crazy about Twin Peaks, and I'm not just talking about the coffee ads, or Mizurna Falls, or the mock Laura Palmer funerals? What the fuck?
Then what are you talking about, you fuck? Did you forget to tell us?
And there's still some uncharted territory with regards to Alice 6 alone. You remember how in my last video I mentioned that Chiaki J. Konaka interviewed the lead voice actress for Malice Doll? Of course you do. You watch all my videos. You're subscribed with a bell notification and the Patreon donations and everything. Well, it seems that Konaka just likes doing this with his actresses, and I support that wholeheartedly. The 12th episode is a still untranslated series of interviews with the actresses. This one doesn't have a script, so it's a bit more of a challenge to subtitle, but if anyone's up for it, go ahead. There was also a fan who made a magazine for Alice 6 way back when, but when I tried contacting the listed email, it told me it didn't exist anymore. So if anyone wants to track this down, I'm setting the bounty at $5. Look, I was joking when I was assuming that you were subscribed to my Patreon. I'm actually really down bad over there, so if you could just, But also, I accept donations to Palestine, Sudan, Congo, or any honorable cause, really, as a donation to me in spirit. It's really hard to choose a favorite character here. The girls are also vibrant and expressive, and for a bunch of first-time actresses, I really loved all their performances. In terms of attitude, Michiru is probably my favorite. She has an abrasive, almost annoying quality that I find very endearing. But in terms of what they got to do in the story, I think Reika and Shoko's episodes are my favorite. Throughout the show, the girls all occupy positions and roles that conflict with their senses of perceived self, whether it be traveling to the past and seeing yourself living a childhood that you never had, forcing yourself to confront a lie that's so comfortable and that feels so true, or providing a commentary track on your own life in which you're forced to confront how many layers deep you've separated from yourself. According to Dazirock, Reika's episode saw director Kazuya Konaka take huge influence from Nobuhiko Obayashi. I haven't seen enough of the guy's filmography to concur with that statement, but I believe it. It's worth noting that Konaka collaborated with Obayashi on the latter's final film before his passing. One thing I always wondered about the show is why that specific number of girls? Why 6? Why not 7? Or 8? If I had to guess, I'd say it's just 12 divided by 2. It could have just as easily been Alice 5 or 4. I think Juri and Michiru had the least to do in this story, but I'm glad we got the 6 we did. In the recap before each episode, Miki says we became Alice. All of them together are one Alice. As for whether they consented to this transformation is up to you to decide. It's rare that these girls exert their will upon the world they inhabit. Generally, the world exerts its will on them, and they respond accordingly. Like good models, they pose for the camera. There's only a few occasions where someone besides Miki demonstrates any level of free will. But I think it's fitting. A story about models who are so accustomed to posing according to the will of the one holding the camera, accustomed to being the object of observation, learning to hold the camera themselves and become the subject, is very moving. And I think in a world where free will becomes more and more of a myth every day, something like Alice 6 is needed now more than ever.